Hi friends, my name is Yetnir Troshani. I come from the city of Shkodra in Albania, a passionate hobbyist of wildlife photography and also one of the admins of Wild Europe. Let's begin by welcoming Sergio to this next interview. I like to find this moment to say that I'm truly humbled and proud to interview our Wild Europe members. Through these weekly experiences, we get to learn not only about wildlife photography, but also we get to know the wonderful people behind the camera who post such amazing pictures every day on our group. So thank you. This is our third interview. It was a real treat to have William and Keld already on our Zoom platform. To see their interviews, please visit our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified for weekly interviews and other related videos. One more thing, I'd like to congratulate my friends on their new gear. Ridvan for upgrading to Nikon D750 and Ilir for getting his new lens Sigma 150 to 600 millimeters. Although we all understand the importance of light, the composition, post-processing, getting close to the subject, of course, we photograph, etc., and etc. Having the right gear does make a difference on this type of photography. So once again, congrats, friends. Now, let's dive into today's interview with Sergio. Sergio, what got you started with wildlife photography?
Well, I always loved the photography since I were a child. And in the 80s, I purchased my first analog camera. In that times, the photography was mainly analog. So I purchased the camera in the 80s and started photography. Then later, I was fond of bird watching, and so it was a natural thing to join these two activities in wildlife photography. And so I started in the 80s when photography was mainly analog. At the end of these years, the mainstream began to be digital, and so my gear began to be obsolete, and I lived photography for several years. I started 5 or 6 years ago with a simple and cheap digital camera, just to say if bird photography was for me. I discovered that it was a very, very, very pleasant activity, and so I started to change my gear till today.
That's great, and such a journey. Thank you for sharing that. The second question we have is, what gear do you recommend for wildlife photography?
This is a common question, and it depends on what kind of photography you do. I do mainly bird photography, so you need, in my opinion, a long focal lens. For bird photography, the lens which is the most common used is a 500 millimeters f4, which for small birds is truly the smallest lens you can use. And you need even a particular camera, in my opinion, a camera with a very, very fast autofocus, because in my photography, birds in flight, if the autofocus is not on par, you lose a lot of shots. And in the recent time, I discovered a new lens, a smaller lens, a 500 millimeters, 5.6 lens from Nikon, which is important because in my kind of photography, I wander all day without any hide. And so bring with you a heavy lens is a big strain, while having a much more light lens is a big plus. I show you what I mean. This is a 500 millimeters 5.6 lens, which weighs nothing. When I go out with this lens, I forgot to have with me a 500 millimeters lens. So just to summarize, two main things you need: a 500 millimeters and a fast camera. Prefer a fast camera with a crop sensor, because the crop sensor gives you a bit more magnification, because the subject which I photograph are often very, very far from me. So a crop camera with fast autofocus. I choose the D500 from Nikon, because at the time it was one of the faster with regarding the autofocus. And I purchased a 500 Sigma super telephoto, because the quality is on top and the price is very lower than the Canon or Nikon originals. And I don't use tripod, I don't use monopod, and so that's all. In bird photography, I must underline a thing. A lot of photographers use big zooms, which range from 150 to 600 millimeters. And they are very, very good. But in my case, there is a little problem, because I usually crop a lot of my image. So the little difference in quality is visible. So my recommendation goes for fixed lens, which have a bit little advantage in quality, but cropping the image, this little advantage is well visible. So for the gear, I have no other to say, unless you have some question to.
No, sounds good. Very, very good tips. Thank you for sharing. We can move on our third question. What do you believe makes your images successful?
Oh, well, I think that this depends on the subjects, because everyone loves birds, especially birds in flight, especially if the birds are very colorful, such as the kingfisher or other subjects. And just to justify this, if you allow me, I show you some images of birds in flight, which are on Flickr.
Yeah, please.
And let me share the screen. Okay.
Looks great. Yep.
Okay, if you look at this picture, you understand why people likes my pictures, because the birds I photograph are beautiful, not more, not less.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on the beauty of nature and the beauty of the birds I shoot at. As you can see, they are very colorful, very spectacular.
I
And
like how clean they
so,
are as well. They are very clean. You allow the viewer to really see the subject. I appreciate it.
yes, to take this image, you need fast shutter speed, a lot of luck and patience. And if you allow me, I show you where these images are taken, because the vast majority of my photographies are all from one place, which is the Torbiere del Sebino.
Oh,
And I show you where they are, so perhaps someone else may come here to see what I see. Here it is. Garda Lake, you know, I suppose.
in Brescia. In Brescia.
Brescia, okay, I live here in Brescia. And
Beautiful.
here is the Iseo Lake. And here, in the southern part, where are the Torbiere del Sebino. The vast majority of my shots were taken from here, and are all of birds in flight.
Thank you for sharing this location. It's important for me and other folks as well to get to see places where our photographers friends go, so we can also in the future perhaps visit it. So it's great that you're doing this. Thank you.
Okay, okay.
I have another question. If you have anything else to add, we can go ahead. But if you don't, I can add. I have another question.
But go with the other question,
Yeah.
because
Can you tell us about some of your challenges that you face as a wildlife photographers? Like,
okay, as you can see, here in the Torbiera del Sebino, the subjects are very, 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 how can I say? The Torbiera is a very, very vast area, so the subjects are not so frequent to see. So you need a lot of patience. Is one of the most required quality for a photographer of the Torbiera, because there is very vast. You have no hide, absolutely no hide. So you must be very, very patient, and you must be able to stand in the cold in the winter. Here is an image where you can see ice on the water. And in the summer, the temperature is very high, so without any hide or any repair, the climate is not very, very friendly. So you have exactly these temperatures, climate, and and a lot of patience, because subjects are always wandering far from you, and you must wait when to come here, to come near. And so the challenge in this place are fundamentally these ones.
Something you were sharing last night as we were discussing, you were mentioning the quality of your images.
Oh, yes.
In the winter. I thought that was something interesting.
Yes, you're right. An interesting thing to underline is that the best image I took were made in winter, because the sun is pretty low on the horizon, so the light is not so hard. And in fact, let me show you some image in which you can see how good the light is in winter. Let me show you. Only a moment.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay. Look at these pictures taken in winter. Here is one in the afternoon of December. As you can see, the low light is a good thing for taking these pictures. Another one which is very, very good, in my opinion, about the lighting, is this one taken in December, in the afternoon, with the sun low on the horizon. And this thing allow you to not wait the morning or the evening. So in winter, I can shoot practically at every hour. Let me see if there are some other image takes in winter in which you can see. This one has an excellent light, in my opinion. Taken even this in spring. This was in spring, but was late afternoon. Okay, late afternoon. This was taken, I remember, with a Pentax camera, which has no fast autofocus, but the subjects are pretty quiet, so it was not a problem in this case. Another image taken in November, near winter. And my preferred one is this, taken, let me see when, here it is, Beaton. Okay, 16 December. This was a very, very lucky shot, because this subject taken off and come near me instead of our side.
Such a powerful shot. It has a very nice close-up. It wants to come out of the screen almost. It's very powerful.
This is one of the few shots I wasn't able to do at few meters. It was at about 20 meters from me. So I was very, very lucky, because the site in which I take pictures don't allow you such close range photos. But in that case, I was lucky, very lucky, very, very lucky.
Excellent. I want to also mention that Manos, it's commenting on your pictures. He thinks this is wonderful work that you're doing here. And Having said that, I can move on into our fifth question, which is, what does inspire you, Sergio?
Well, the answer is simple. Nature's birds, the beauty of birds, nature inspires me. I have to say that even our photographers, which make beautiful images, are inspiring, but the main inspiration comes from nature, from birds, from the colors, from being in such a wonderful place. And
You were mentioning yesterday the fact that sometimes other photographers as well play a role on our
oh
photography.
yes,
I thought
when
that
I
was a very good
see
point.
yes, when I see our photographers' image, I truly get inspired because I see photos better than mine, and that's a great push for me for do something like that.
Yeah.
And in fact, when I started up, I thought, wow, I will never do such a good image. But with time, learning by hours and with patience, I can get some good shots. So just to summarize, nature is my main inspiration, birds, colorful birds, and our photographers with a wonderful image.
Yeah, thank you so much. This interview, also this third interview, is really making an impact as far as I'm concerned, with respect to, as we discussed, adding a human layer to what we do, not simply posting, but also getting to know our folks. But I'm just very happy that we get a chance to do this, and thank you so much for accepting to be part of this experience. Do you have
Many
any last thoughts, Sergio, before we close the interview for today?
I have to say that I'm very happy to be here with you to share my passion with you and with all others photographers in this wonderful world. I hope many others will appreciate, like us, nature and wildlife.
Indeed. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening. And until the next experience, take care, Sergio.
Thank you. Till next time.